So what if you could allow users to be able to switch between which metrics they would like to see? And it also dynamically updates what the actual name is as well, instead of hard coding what the original name was for the metric that sat there before. And then also on top of that, be able to create a table where not only when they select a metric that they want to be able to see, and it also give them supporting metrics that relate to that, which again also are dynamic and then change with their titles as well. So I'm going to show you how to dynamically change a metric in its name with one, multiple, and then also include the conditional formatting that stays put when you switch between different metrics. So you want to know how I did it? Let's jump over to my Power BI desktop. So as you can see here, I've got a filter that allows me to select certain metrics. So in a case profit here, and you'll notice the name changes and the name changes. And if you notice over here, when I select one, those change as well, relating to whatever metric I've put here. So margin, you need to know about the total sales, total profit, any discount amount, and any discount amount applied to the sales and what that percentage looks like as well. And with the normal setup, where you would just drop in a metric, you wouldn't be able to, because it will just stay set to whatever metric you've got. And the only means for a user to be able to switch out different metrics, and that is personalize your visuals, which is very sort of cumbersome and very click tax, which is not what you want for your end user to be going around doing. So you want to make it as seamless and easy for them and know what they just need to look for. Because not each user is that data savvy that they'll know to click through and be able to do the personalize their visual. And these are all done using field parameters. Now, field parameters has been around for about 3 years now, and it's really handy when you're giving people the ability to be able to pick and choose how they want to see the data without having to use bookmarks. Even though it's been 3 years, Microsoft still have it in preview. So if you want to be able to actually use field parameters, you have to head over to File, Options and Settings, click on Options, then go down under Global to Preview Features, and then under there you'll see field parameters. Make sure that's ticked, click OK. It might ask you to actually restart your Power BI. If it does, then just restart your Power BI and then you have it available. So once you got that, all you have to do is head over to your modeling, and then under modeling, you'll see new parameter. Now under here, you'll see one that's called fields, and that's your field parameter. Click on that, and then here you get where you want to put in what the name is. If you want to include a slicer, I'm going to untick that because I already have a slicer here, and I'm just going to copy the page anyway. And then in here is where you add what you want to include. Now I'm going to be adding the metrics in this case, but actually down here, down the side, I've actually included what the customer name is, the segment, and then the product category and subcategory as a field parameter as well, so I can switch between them, which you'll see me do in a minute. So if you want to be able to replicate that as well, that's how you can do that. If you want to follow along with what I'm actually doing, I've got the data set and the metrics I'm going to be using saved in the description below. And the metrics will be in a notepad with all the DAX in there. And then all you need to do with the dim tables is just connect the relationship to the particular column from the fact sales table. So like your product ID, customer ID, and your order date to date. So if we just put in some of our measures, so if we go in here and then we go, let's stick with total sales first and foremost. So there we go, total sales. Now I'm going to do total profit. Then I'm going to do number of orders, and then average transaction value, ATV, and then we want to put in margin, and then on the discounts, let's load in the discount sales amount, average discount, and percentage of discount applied. So now we have a parameter. I haven't actually named it because I completely forgot when I was just doing this, but you can change the name, but you know what, I'm going to leave it as parameter, it's fine. But you can call it whatever you want. You can see I've got different names for different ones I've got here, but it's good to just at least have what it relates to. And then what this does is just create this one field, includes all your different measures. So then you can slice between to be able to change what actually happens. So if I show you what this looks like as a table, and that relates to the 3 sections here that are split by a comma. Now this is useful to know because in the next section, when I show you how to do the multiple changes of metrics, we'll need to add in an extra column. And we can do that directly from here. So this is your first column, which is the name that you can select, and you can change this as much as you want. You can call it anything you want. So let's just say if we just wanted to call this sales, it's now just called sales. Even though the measure is still called total sales, you can call it whatever you want. So you get that nice functionality to be able to change what you want. And let's do the same with total profit as well, just so we get rid of the totals. So that's what you get with your name. this is where your measure is and where it sits. So it's all these are in the fact sales table, and then these are all the measure names, and then you've got the order sequence that they fall into. Now, the reason why you want to be able to set an order sequence is if, say, we wanted to be able to switch out between the two. So let me make a copy of this, and what I'm going to do is just remove what I've already created as my example, take out that parameter, and let's drop in our one we've created into here. So now we can see, look, sales, profit, all the names we've got in there. And if we click on that table, and then we want to drag these into the values, so you grab your parameter, drop it into the value, and let's do it on this one over here as well. And then in here we can see we've got our sales, and then we can switch profit and number of orders. Now I've got this as single select. So if we were to go in here and then turn off single select, now we've got where I can use control. I can select as many as I like. So now you have the means to be able to select all what you want. So if you want people to be able to just have a whole table and then click out which ones they want and which ones they don't need, that's how you can do it. And you can do it in any order you want, as long as you change the order sequence on your parameter here, where it says 0 to 7, switch these around, and then you get a different order for where these sit. So if I just remove that for now, go back to sales, and then make this single select, and now we can just switch between the different ones. So now we got this. You can see our name changes at the top. So we're dynamically changing that title. So not only are we getting the new metric, we're also getting the title dynamically changing. So I'm going to show you now how you can include the additional columns that change dynamically depending on which metric has been selected. And I bet you can't guess how I did that as well. Yep, field parameter. So what we want to do is create exactly the same field parameter that we did before, but just give it a different name. Head over to modeling, go new parameter, fields, and this one we're just going to call multi-parameter, and then we want to include all of the same metrics: total sales, profit, margin, orders, ATV, and then that one, and that one. So now we have another field parameter. You see, same thing, just slightly different. I think I just got one of the order different there. So see, margin and ATV are in different order. And then what I'm going to do, I'm just going to update these as well to say instead of total sales, it's total profit. You can actually change it within the field parameter. And also you can see here, I completely forgot to turn off the means to add in the slicer. So it did actually add the slicer here. So let's just remove that for now. So we're going to use this table as an example. If we were to suddenly just drop everything in, boom, we get every single metric that we've just loaded in. If I was to switch sales, sales is there, but you see these all stay the same. So you can switch between the different ones, but there's nothing changing. What we want to be able to do is connect these two tables together. So currently we've got our multi-parameter, which is the one we want. So let's just drag that into our modeling view. And then we got our parameter one, that into our modeling view. We know the perimeter and multi-parameter is this name here. So if we go here, you can see multi-parameter, that's what we want. So we know those two match. So if we were to just drag those together, at the moment, it's 1-to-1. So if we just do many-to-one, even though it isn't, it is actually just 1-to-1. We now have that, make the relationship active, make sure it's single. So if we set that, we can go back and it doesn't change anything with what's going on here. What we want to be able to do is be able to kind of go, say margin, we want to be able to select just the ones that relate to the margin. So if we go back over to our multi-parameter, we have, as I mentioned, we can create another column off the back of this to be able to then be what would be our feed. So if we create another one, so we just add a comma here, and then we call this one margin percent. Now, if we go back, we'll get an error because what's happened now is I've created an extra column, but I haven't put all the data in. So it doesn't quite recognize it. I'll need to have data points for each column for it to be able to work. So what we can do is if we just copy what we have for now. So I want to have profit. I don't need margin. I need number of orders. Nope. Discount sales amount. I want to have those as well. So if I add in a comma after the order there, and then if I do that there, and then if I do that one there, and then for these ones, I'm going to say that one's called profit. So I'm going to copy that, add that in. Has another column there for profit, and then number of orders and sales. Let's do this one. So number of orders, let's do ATV because part of that, and then number of orders would be part of what I want to see. ATV I want to see from the number of orders. So now we have something in those columns. So now it works. We go back. We now have this new field. So I'm going to call this one relationship because that's what we're going to use it for. This is now going to be what we connect to the parameter. So if we go back, click on here and do relationship. So then we want to do one to many because that one's the one, and then that's the many, where you can switch it around. So if we go here, do OK. So as you can see, it switched it back around. This time it's put the multi-parameter at the top. So now if we just do save, and if we go back, you'll notice it's just changed. So if we bring this in, margin is now showing all the ones I'm going to show there. So remember, for ATV, I just put number of orders was just ATV. There we go. Sales, there wasn't anything set. Profit included margin. And you can see we now have all these different changing ones. But for ones we don't have, because we haven't set anything. But you'd be going, okay, we've done that, but I'm limited. I'm stuck because I can only add what is already there because these already exist. What am I going to do? Copy them. The great thing is you don't have to have all these set as one. So sales is sales, profit is profit, margin is margin, and so on and so forth. And you don't have to give them their own order as well because they already have their order. They already exist. Doesn't matter. So if we go copy, paste, and let's do another one as well. Paste. So for sales, I reckon we want that for ATV. Definitely want to see ATV. Let's drop that one in. Let's do it for profit as well. So we got everything there, and then profit. Let's copy that, and let's just add some stuff for sales. Sales currently doesn't have anything, so we just go, well, we want to include profit when we select sales. We want to include margin when we select sales. Do that, sales, and we want to do number of orders. So now we've added them, we can go back. Let's just click on the relationship field so we can just get rid of the measure. And now if we select sales, we can see the ones we just added in. So they're all there. So you can just add them in as and when you need them. And all you need to worry about is just whatever order you want them in. So if you suddenly just wanted sales to not be the first one or profit not to be the second one, you can just change the order to how you want it. So let's make that 2, and then let's make margin 6. Let's make those 1. Click that off, and now you can see margin sits before profit. Simple. And this is great because now you can select whatever one you want. We don't have anything for average discount at the moment, but we'll go margin. There we go. We see all the things we want to be able to see that relate to margin, that we want that user to be able to know, okay, these things relate to it. And it's completely updating all the measures and updating the titles so it's the exact thing that relates to the metric. You're not just getting some random name and whatever the metric amount is. Now you're probably thinking, oh, this isn't technically dynamically changing a name. It is, but it's not changing a name based on, say, if you selected what the year was. Now, there is a way to change what the name is by what you select. Now, there isn't a way with these titles to be able to change something. This is an example that I've got here. You'll see here, we have, it says total sales 2024 and then total sales 2023. That's not true. I've got 2017 selected. Down here, you can see 2017 selected. If I was to change this to say 2016, you see that update. What this measure is doing is looking at the date, and then I'm just formatting it as what the max date is and year. So really it's finding out, oh, what's the max date of that year, which would be December the 31st, whatever that year that is. But then I'm only returning what the year is. If I added in, say, month, it would be December because that is the end month. You can see here, it's added December. Here, it's gone weird, but that's because I have a minus on there. You'll see in a minute. I'll go back and make that year. Let me show you what's going on in here and why it doesn't work. So in here, you can see I have the date selected. It's the same measure. I've then gone total sales, space, and then year selected. It's not actually selected the year. It's done the max of the year date table. So it's basically the whole date table. I'll go to it. Show you what I mean. The max year in this date table is 2024. So it's maxing out at 2024. The reason why this shows 2023 is because I've just done -1 of 2024 because this is last year's sales. So technically you want to look at it by 1. This won't work because it's table based. This is very similar to calculated columns. If you ever tried to work with calculated columns and make them dynamic, it won't happen. The only way you can get this to be dynamic in any sort of date name change is if you actually just put in today's date and then set it. So if I was to change this to be now today, so date selected, I'm not going to use that one. I'm going to use today. And then if I was to do month, there's a break here because it's not really the correct format, because it's not actually a format. I would need to build the format separately to be able to then get it to do the -1. But we can see here May 2025. If we then change into a different month, you could then see that change into June, and it will update, because when Dataset refreshes, pushes through all different bits of information, you'll get the new date. However, it's today and not anywhere near related to what we're selecting as a filter. So you can't actually dynamically change the titles by a date or whatever you want to set by selecting something. So if you wanted to include the month, if you wanted to include the region, anything like that doesn't work. But what you can do is, if you wanted someone to be able to see something that is this period, so you basically go current period, whatever, that's your measure. Then you create one that's previous month, previous past 3 months, or whatever period you want to look at. You create those measures, and then you use the fill parameters to then be able to select which ones you want. So if someone wants to say, I want to look at the last 6 months of periods of each month, so each 6 months, but as a 6-column table, and then show you this month, this month, this month, this month, this month. You can then do that by giving it, then saying this month minus this month minus this month minus this. And then they know what that relates to, because whatever periods they've selected here, they know that's that month, and then these are the months that go backwards. If they then wanted to see it by quarters, the last 6 quarters, then you can do, well, this is quarter 1, or this is the current quarter, and then this is quarter whatever quarter it was before. That way you can update that way, but you can't actually physically show whatever those columns are being dynamic. So unfortunately, not quite possible right now. Might be possible in the future, but seeing as build parameters have been in preview for the last 3 years, I can't see Microsoft fixing this anytime soon, especially when it's been how many years and they still haven't fixed the measure totals. So now we've covered all the changing of titles and how you can make those dynamically change to whatever you want to select or whatever the user needs to see. If you were to then include any sort of conditional formatting, this is actually quite straightforward. The great thing is you can select what you want as normal, head down to your cell elements, and then say in your margin, you can select here, and then you've got the information there. If you was to switch out margin and then go to ATV, and then say if we wanted sales, let's make that a data bar. There we go, data bar. Then we go to number of orders. That doesn't have any sales in it. And then if we go profit, oh look, it's got sales and margin, and it's switched out what the conditional formatting is relating to that particular field. So you can basically add in any conditional formatting you want, and it will always remember it and then be able to feed it back whenever anybody selects anything. So if you wanted to have margin as your main metric, you've got it there, and then it's showing you in whatever conditional formatting you set it as. And then it doesn't matter if you end up switching to a completely different metric, the supporting metric that sits in the table will also update with the conditional formatting. And one of the great things being able to set your conditional formatting by using those cell elements is that you could create your own measures that are conditional formatted, like here with high and low, to highlight which one is the highest amount and which one's the lowest amount. And then you can change to a different metric, and then it will update for each one, whatever you set it as. But then to add the additional power to that, you could create another switch that will be able to then allow you to then change your conditional formatting to something completely different. So then in this case versus previous year, and again you can switch back and forth with your different metrics because it all works within using the fill parameters as well. And this one I'm going to show you in my next video, which you can check out here once I've published it. And as always, until next time.